All right, good morning. We'll call this meeting to order of the Boyle County Fiscal Court, November 12th, 2024 at 9 a.m. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be back. Magistrate Ellis, thank you for filling in 2 weeks ago when I was at a conference, and appreciate that. And I heard the meeting went real well. I also heard the meeting got over really early. So I want to see if we can continue on that theme and, you know, getting business done and moving right along.
Both of the meetings he's done have been over early, I'm just saying.
I
don't know what the common factor is.
That's because I never talked very long.
No, that's it. That's it. All right. Well, glad everybody's here today and good to see everybody. And Magistrate Bodner, will you get us started with an invocation, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, and thank you, Lord, for the people in the room that help run our county and help make big decisions, and that includes all the community people. Such a great place to live, and we thank you for that. And help us keep it that way, Lord. Be with us as we make decisions today. Make them help us to make the right decisions, and be with each one and keep us all safe. These things we ask in thy Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Today we have Briley Samons with us, and she is a senior at Boyle County High School. Briley, if you'll stand and introduce who you have with you, please.
This is my mom and my dad, Beth and Chad Samons.
All right, awesome. Thank you. If everyone will stand, Briley will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much. And I have a certificate. Is there anything you want to tell us about yourself that you're interested in school?
Well, I'm planning to go to BCTC for sonography, which is a 2-year program.
Yeah.
And then from there I can take a path and kind of further my education on that. So
All right, that's exciting. All right, if you'll step over here, the photographer will...
And she's friends with my daughter.
All right, good deal. Not kidding. All right, thank you so much. Yeah. You all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, next we have the prior meeting minutes of October 22nd, and I will,
Make a motion we approve.
all right, have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Bodner. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries, and minutes are approved. Budget transfers. Ms. Shannon?
I have budget transfers, $2,603,657.
I make a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to accept budget transfers from Magistrate Gay, second from Magistrate Sleeper. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Cash transfers.
I have the cash transfer from the interest-bearing account to the general fund for $2,650,000.
Make the motion we approve the cash transfer.
Then I have some inter-fund transfers from the general fund to the road department, $65,000. From general fund to the jail, $285,000. And from the general fund to EMS is $110,000.
Okay, Magistrate Gay, will you take your motion for all of those?
Yes.
Okay,
Second.
second by Magistrate Bodner. Any discussion on the cash transfer? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. All right, and now we have our bills. Miss Elaina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Today's bill package and your all's agenda should total $5,608,050.54, and that doesn't include property purchase. That's why it's so large this time. We've also got our occupational tax fund checks in there too.
Make a motion we approve.
Okay, I have a motion by Magistrate Cullen,
Yeah.
second by Magistrate Harmon. Any discussion on the bills? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at the last meeting, you all had the first reading of ordinance 280.4 relating to the Code of Ethics for county officials and employees in Boyle County. And it is time for the second reading of the ordinance, and I think there was some minor changes, is that right?
Yes, there's one change, and that is we removed the language requiring that Sophie communications be sent by certified mail. We're finding that's not very successful. We're trying to get more to electronic, and it seems like they get them better when you send it just regular mail than paying for certified, so we did drop that.
I agree. Okay.
Judge, there is one other item I did want to mention.
Yes.
Chris and I talked about the penalty provision for filing a false complaint, and we worked together, and that's 30H, the last paragraph. It keeps the same basic principle, but it puts it in, I think you could say, in line with the KRS statute for perjury in the second degree, which is a Class A misdemeanor. I thank Chris for his insight. He shared some information with Fayette County, and they did something similar to that. Chris, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I mean, you
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, I would like to speak to that. What are the penalties, both financial and possible incarceration, Counselor?
Well, as far as Class A misdemeanors are punishable up to 12 months in jail. Do we have a monetary, do we list that?
$500 fine, or both, up to.
I'm going to be a little obtuse about this. I'll say within the last 6 years, there have been some accusations flying back and forth. And I really want the public to understand the consequences with this language being brought to light. That folks know that it might be buried, 30 or 40 pages back in our Code of Ethics, but it will now appear on the form, so that if someone makes an accusation, they will read at the bottom of that form the consequences that would take place, because we just don't need to go through a process for a false accusation, and I think it will hit folks right between the eyes if they read that on the bottom of the form when they're getting ready to turn it in.
Serious matters have serious consequences.
Yes, thank you, Judge.
I do not see the $500 amount though. Is that on there anywhere?
I did want to point out, during our discussion, Chris, I did a draft, which is not in final form, to put on the complaint addressing that. But I want to get the language of that to be consistent with what's in the code. But your point is well taken, and we would like to go ahead and make that change. We just don't have it ready for you today. But
Yeah, and I don't think that impedes our making progress on our second reading.
No. Other than if the $500 amount is supposed to be in the ordinance, I do not see it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I don't think it. I don't think
Is it just gonna
I don't
be on
think
the
we
form?
just we put Class A misdemeanor, but I
Okay.
think the point, my position was, I think the more effective point is going to be when they file that out, when they're doing it, because they're just going to be interested in filing a complaint when they look at the last part and see before you sign.
Exactly.
That's
where it will
and that would be
locate.
That would be consistent with what a Class A misdemeanor is, which is found in the code.
Yeah. Therefore, it would not have to be spelled out.
Yeah, that's about it. Okay, all right. Are you good with that, Councilman? Okay.
I'm fine, but I mean, it's not gonna be that hard to add that $500, so I think we just go ahead and put it in there.
Well, I'll make a motion that we add the $500 in the second reading.
Do you want to put the 12 months also?
Well, that's, Class A is 12 months.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you're going to put the $500, you want to put the 12 months as well.
Okay.
I'll amend my
punishable up to
motion
12
to put the $500 in the 12 months.
Punishable up to 12 months.
Okay,
Good job.
so
I'll make a
for-
motion, we approve the second reading with those additions as stated.
Well, Magistrate Ellis had already
Second.
made
You want a
it.
second line?
Okay, all right. So, we have a motion by Magistrate Ellis to include the verbiage that we just discussed, punishable by 12 months and $500 fine. Is that what we're going to call it?
Or both.
Or both, okay. All right, so we have a motion by Magistrate Ellis, second by Magistrate Gay. Any other discussion on second reading of ordinance 280.4? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Second reading.
Thank you all.
Is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, Finance Officer, Elaina. Policy changes?
Alrighty, there was one other thing I wanted to talk to y'all about this morning. And currently in our administrative code, it says for reimbursement for meals, the meal costs are not to exceed $40 per day upon presentation of receipts. From what I can tell from things being turned in, I'm not being able to reimburse our employees, you all, anyone for what they're spending on food. And it's $40 for 3 meals for a day. So I just don't think that covers it. So I did some research and I looked at what the state's reimbursing right now. And for non-high rate areas, they are reimbursing at $50 per day. They have that broke apart into meals. I don't want to suggest that we break that apart into meals. I just want to suggest that we update the administrative code to say not to exceed $50 per day.
How do we distinguish between, is Danville the lower and
Low rate and
Louisville
high
the
rate.
higher?
There's a list on Kentucky.gov of low rate and high rate areas. Yes.
So that the public understands that we are really not trying
No.
to have lavish meals.
No.
When you go to the Galt
Food
House,
costs have went up.
when we go to the Galt House this week for the Kentucky Association of Counties annual meeting, if you buy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at the Galt House, it's $8.
Yes. Yes.
I can get you some Uncrustables for $4.
It's just with inflation and everything the way it is right now,
I would prefer we spell it out, because I don't want to see somebody coming in and spending $50 on lunch, saying, but the policy says I can spend up to $50 a day. So, if they only went out to lunch, then it's going to be confusing to say, well, I thought I could spend up to $50 on. So if you're going to use the state's example, you kind of have to follow their example.
How do they break it down?
Well, we're not using their example right now. We're just saying that it's
But
not
her
to exceed
recommendation is
40.
Yeah,
I
her
kind of like it
recommendation
spelled
is-
out too, because
I
I think
agree.
it keeps everybody kind of reeled in.
Okay, but let's think about this. If you have, the way it's spelled out with the state, breakfast is $12,
lunch is 15.
lunch is 15, dinner is 23. I'm not a breakfast eater. I'm not gonna eat breakfast. So I've got that $15 that if I want to eat something, maybe instead of a peanut butter sandwich, I want to have a hamburger, which is $5 more than the peanut butter sandwich.
Or more.
I've got that breakfast money to use toward that.
Does that include the gratuity?
It says that you can reimburse the gratuity as long as it does not exceed your total per diem allowed.
So it could be 50 plus 20%.
No, it's only 50. So it could be $25 and 20%, and then I can reimburse that.
Judge.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, why don't I write it in such a way that if you were doing an overnight conference, you use a state allowance, but if it's a day conference or you're just doing one meal, then you follow the guidance that the state gives per meal.
Just
You
to
could
add,
do it that way,
our personnel policy allows for just reimbursing what the state rate is, period.
but the administrative code does not.
I know-
Judge, we have a gentleman in the back.
Yes, yes. Yes, sir?
$15 is not gonna cover a Big Mac, a large fry, and a large drink at McDonald's. It's $16.49.
That is
I just did it yesterday.
That
$15 is not gonna cover a large value meal at McDonald's.
That is true. You can't even eat McDonald's cheap anymore.
Well, we're hoping
Oh.
with changes in administration, maybe some prices start going down again, so.
Prices never go down, they only go up. The best we can hope for is for them to remain the same.
Okay, so our administrative code and our personnel policy
They don't agree.
don't agree.
No. Right now, the personnel policy, the handbook itself says just apply to the state. Whatever the state reimburses, that's what we'll reimburse. That's simpler, I think.
Which is 50,
Whatever it is.
under, yeah.
Yeah, they may change it next week to 60.
But then our
They review it quarterly.
Yeah, so,
administrative code says 40.
right.
So we need to get them
Yes.
the
We
same.
need to go and say.
The state
Just
reviews
make them the
quarterly
same.
and adjusts.
Okay,
Just like they do mileage.
okay. So we can decide what we want to say, and then you can write the
Yeah, if
whatever.
you're good with going with the state, we'll
It's
write it
also-
and present it at the next meeting.
Most of the meals are covered at these conferences.
Most of
we
them
go
are.
to.
Yes.
Just
So-
one meal.
Yes.
Because that's included in the large amount we pay to go
It's
to
not
these
gonna be a
conferences.
huge deal because most of the meals are included. It's gonna be
This is-
probably a breakfast or,
For dinner.
yeah.
Most lunches are covered. Every lunch is normally covered in
When
the
I went to
conference.
Owensboro 2 weeks ago, they provided one meal. That was it. The rest of it was on your own. So that's an example of where
My
you might
God.
not.
I've noticed that several conferences that I've attended, they do away with the dinner meal. They have breakfast and lunch, and then at night, you're on your own. Now, that's just, I mean,
That is true.
it depends on what kind of conference
You
it
can write
is.
language in there to, like, one meal's not to exceed half of what your per day per diem is. That's what, you know, when I do contract trips, that's kind of what they write in there, so.
Okay, I'll work on it.
I just want to make sure that we're not, wanting our employees to go get all this training and then we're not pushing a cost onto them to also incur at the same time. You know what I mean? Extra costs. So, that was my goal.
That's fine.
And we appreciate. How about if we just change the administrative code to match the personnel policy that we follow the state
State rate.
rate?
Follow the state rate.
And
Is
the
this
state
time of
rate
season we
gets
can change the
adjusted.
administrative code?
That's enough summer. June,
I'm sorry, what?
Is this the time of year we can change
We
the
normally
administrative-
only update it in June.
June, yeah.
You can change policy anytime you want to, whether we do a formal adoption. I was gonna pull that out and read it.
But since they don't match,
Yeah.
could we not
You
go
can
ahead
make the
and-
policy change whenever you want.
Yeah.
Whether we update the code, I have to do a little research.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to take
Okay.
down the notes that we've come up with and maybe come back with an actual policy change? and
That's
Make
fine.
it at the next court?
I'm still not a stickler for the individual rates. I think it should be a lump sum and then let the person decide what they want, which meals they want to
I
eat.
understand that, but then you get, I mean, we can go back and forth on this because you're gonna get somebody that ate breakfast at the conference and then decided like, oh, I've got $50 now to spend on lunch and dinner or whatever. So, you know, you're spending more taxpayer dollars that way because, you know, you're exceeding what was intended.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're
We'll
welcome.
Thank you for
come back
bringing
with
Come
that
back
a
to it. Thanks,
new
guys.
policy. All right, County Surveyor, Rich Murphy, come on up.
Morning.
Morning.
I would like to discuss that everyone should have the handout of the minor plat for for Alum Springs Convenience Center. This was just a little background. It was a survey that was, we set out originally to do a boundary survey, find the boundaries of that acre. It's about a little over 80 acre parcel. And started off as just a boundary survey, but along the way we found that the deeds, it's 50% owned by the city and 50% owned by fiscal court. In the process found that the deeds were in really bad shape. They had misclosures, errors in it. So basically what went from a boundary survey, I had to basically survey every property that surrounds that, and I gave everybody exactly what their deed said. And just whatever was left over is worked out as being the fiscal court property. And during the process of that, there was a property on that north end, which is James and Francis Underwood, that they originally had just a bounded deed. It was on the north by a railroad track, on the south by the fiscal court and city property. There was no distances or bearings. They just had, it was just a pure deed that just had a bounded deed. And what they did is they were trying to get their survey updated, so they hired a survey, got a survey of their property, and they relied on the fiscal court deed and the city deed for their south line part of the north line for the fiscal court property. And during that, I found when they did it, there was one of the bearings, instead of going northeast, or instead of going northwest, it went northeast, excuse me. It was an error in the fiscal court deed where somebody just transposed it. They had a survey attached to it that had it correct, but in the verbiage where it was written out, it was wrong, and they relied on that written part for their, to have their survey done. So
Did
in the
that
process,
affect the landowner's property size at all?
It amounted to 0.05 acres, so it's like under a couple hundred square feet. It's a real small piece. It's like a triangular shaped piece. It is like maybe 70 feet by 20 feet.
A gain or loss for the citizens?
A loss for the fiscal court property.
I can deal with that.
Yeah, so it was actually slightly in their favor. And they had, Mr. Underwood, I talked with him extensively, and they had relied on that line for several years. This happened back, I think like 20 years ago or something. He had, so they've been kind of thinking that that was his line for the whole time anyway, and they relied on their survey. So since they relied on it, the fiscal court made the decision to just hold that line.
Yeah.
So what that did is that turned this original boundary survey into a minor plat and property line agreement. So, and to get this rolling, I talked to Paul and Trilly about it, and Julie, and I went to the owners and I talked to them a couple different times, and they signed off on the property line agreement portion. And then I presented it to the city because they're 50% owners, so I went through their process, and the mayor has signed off on it as well already. So I've got you have a preliminary copy here, but I've got the original ones that are signed by the owners and the mayor first signing off on that. And I wanted to get your approval today too for Trilly to sign on behalf of the fiscal court for their, there's two places to own. One is just the standard acknowledgement of ownership that, yeah, we're part of this property. And the other one's a property line agreement that you agree to the property line.
Can that be in one motion? Counselor?
I think so, yes.
I make the motion that we approve the document as presented.
I second.
Okay, have a motion by Magistrate Ellis, a second by Magistrate Bodner. Is there any discussion?
Just, and I guess, so the city of Danville and the fiscal court own all of this designated
Correct.
property together. Okay, at some point in time, I was thinking there was a distinction between the city's part ownership with, and
I had that impression too.
so, but it, okay. So
Yeah, I looked through all the documents as far back as I could go, and everywhere I've seen it was jointly owned.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Rich,
That's
can you
interesting.
speak
That's
to
new
the
knowledge.
encroachment up on, looks like the
Oh, yes.
south part?
Yes, thanks, Shirley. On the south side, you can see there's Cecil Berger owns a part on the very south side where it kind of loops down to it's the bottom left, I guess, where it loops down. And there's a little piece, if you can see, I'll kind of show you here. There's a little piece that goes up right here that we have as an encroachment. It's this piece.
Yeah. It's a little peak.
There's a little peak down there, and what we found when we were surveying is that they had cleared a bunch of trees. The Cecil Berger property, they had cleared some of the trees up in there and using it as a disposal. There was some disposal going on there, mattresses and things like that was being piled up on that area. So we did notice a little bit of encroachment, and I think that, and he had put a fence around that area.
Still there?
No, he did remove this. I think the last time I was out there, some of the trash is still in there, but he did pull the fence that went around that area. So that part, it looks like he's making the attempt to clear it out.
So that's back to fiscal court property.
It always was the fiscal court,
Yeah.
but it's
But
just,
for him, that's back to the.
yes, so he's basically
Okay.
acknowledged
And he
that.
acknowledges the line.
Yes,
Yeah.
and when I had talked to him before out there, he knew he knew what was going on with that too. So he was very,
Okay.
he was nice about everything.
Okay.
So.
Educate me on, I don't even know the term, about a fence being up for so many years and unchallenged becomes the other person's property.
You still have to go to court.
You still got to go to court. Yeah, it's
So we're good. We're no problem here.
yes, that's nothing that as the surveyor I would do. I have to. My job is to retrace what the document says. I don't make the determination. That's a court issue. Adverse possession, or it's a court decision, and they could either go either way. I mean, you never really know what the decision is, but it's 20 years, or it's 15 or 20, and I believe it's I think it's been 20 years in most states. That's why I get a little confused. But 15 to 20 years, I think, is the typical adverse possession.
But yeah, it doesn't matter because, I mean, they would have to actually file a lawsuit, quiet title.
Yeah,
It
saying
sounds like
why
we have
use it
cooperation.
adversely and without the consent of, you know, the true owner and all that, so.
Yeah. And so that's, any questions on that part?
Any other discussion on the motion?
Call it a motion.
Pardon?
Calling the question.
Oh, okay, sorry. She was telling me something too. All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Approved.
I do have
Thank you.
one follow-up to
Okay.
that is,
Yes.
I guess it's more for, I guess for discussion amongst you. I would have a recommendation to that going forward. Once this is, now that it's approved, I'll leave this, copies here for Trilly to sign, since it's there, or I can leave these copies here. These are,
Do you need them signed now?
I can wait till after the meeting.
Oh,
And stuff,
okay.
because I gotta get Michaela at Planning and Zoning
Okay,
to sign
all
as
right.
well.
Yep.
But one other thing I
Yeah,
wanted to.
Michaela's here, gonna be here.
Yeah, so one other thing I did want to mention is, that this plat will get recorded, so it will be on public record, you know, and, but I did want to say that I would recommend that we get a quitclaim deed or something filed for that, because this will get recorded, and it's a matter of discussion too, it doesn't have to, but that would probably be my suggestion to clear it up so that so when the land gets transferred down the road, if either the convenience center property or the Underwoods transfer the property, it's attached, it's more easily through a record search through the clerk's office, it'll be attached with that property, so when they pull it up, they will see that that's, because if they get the old deed, it's still gonna have, you know, there still could be some questions between the two deeds. So that would be my suggestion, is for the city, county, you know, and that do a quitclaim deed to kind of clear it up so that it is on record. Now, this will be
We can do that.
recorded in there, but not everybody goes to the survey plats to pull the information.
We need no further action to get that done. The
Okay,
judge and the counselor would handle.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right.
Rich, thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate the work that you've done, and
Yes.
it's always good to see you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich, we appreciate it.
All right, is Rob Caldwell out in the hall maybe? Good morning, Rob.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
All right.
You're up next.
I'm here to give you an update on the airport, and it's mostly thank you. And that being, we've got a lighting project at the airfield that's almost complete, and which is a huge safety improvement, and that it's 100% funded by the state, so I haven't been required to come before you and ask for participating funds, so we get to enjoy that at 100% state funding, and we thank the state for doing that, because there are those in the room that are pilots that have seen it, and it is a huge difference for us and considerably safer than it was before.
Give a brief explanation on why the lighting is important.
I believe that would be too elementary. But at any rate, so I will say that before the new lighting went in, arriving at the airport from the west, what looked like the runway was really Main Street and Junction City, because the street lights were brighter than the runway lights.
Oh, gosh.
And that is a fact. And so, and then moving on, we're on our newest ramp, which is on the east end of the airfield. We've got a new hangar going up, and I want to thank and acknowledge the RECC's efforts to install new power lines to our airfield and to that new building, which includes three-phase, so that we can enjoy the use of that on the, and before the three-phase was a couple of properties away. And so RECC is invested in the airport in the way of economic development, so we want to thank them for that. Moving on to our entrance road, which is moving right along. Hopefully we'll get the landscape started, but there is a base layer of asphalt. If you've been out that way, it'd be good to drive in, because it's a huge improvement. We have almost 14 acres that we had no access for airplanes to use that now we do. And it was the efforts of the county and the city and our federal government officials, your all's lobbying efforts are the reason that we have those funds. And the year that we got those funds, it is discretionary money, you all spoke up for us and said that's the project you want done, and we really appreciate that, and I think you'll enjoy that road for the rest of.
Is it open now? I saw the sign going in yesterday, but.
Yeah, you can drive in. I use it occasionally if they're working on the other road, but they're hoping to put the surface asphalt on it this week, but we're just waiting on the light pole bases to go in so we can get all the mucky stuff done before we put the final coat of blacktop on it. That is a federally funded project, and so the county is participating with it's either 3 or 4% of the 10% that we have to provide, and we really appreciate it. That's a big chunk of change because it's an expensive project, and I know it was a commitment on your part, and we thank you for that. And then the last project, kind of like one on the airport, we're working on a business and master plan for the airfield that ties into, I know you'll be hearing from Michaela in a few minutes, the comprehensive land use map. We are coordinating so that your tax dollars hopefully are not being spent twice. And so she is coordinating with the business plan folks in hopes of getting a better product without spending more money. And I was just speaking with her about giving her access to all of our files related to our master plan as we progress, so that she can utilize any of that she needs, and help try not to spend your pennies twice.
That's all right. Sounds
But
good.
that we're working, and you all are participating by offering us the county's share on that, and we thank you very much. I do want to mention, because there's people in this room that saved us the morning of it, we had a balloon festival for the first time in several years last summer, and lots of people in this room have got a lot of help, including the radio station who gave us a lot of guidance, and it turned out to be an overwhelming success. It was a very hot day, and Jake Bell led the group that put that on, and they did a super job. The chamber was involved, tourism was involved, the local law enforcement officers were involved, and we've already had it debriefed so that, because the traffic coming and going from that is a disaster.
I think everybody was shocked how many people actually showed up.
Shocking, but that was great.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah, I
thing.
mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, we all knew we needed guidance at the corner by Pax Nursery, and I think everybody's on board that next year that needs to happen, and so onward and upward.
Yeah, yeah.
And we thank everybody that helped us make that happen, because it was a huge opportunity for the county. And then I want to just finish with, it's an airport, and we think about airplanes, and that's really what's important, but it's also a public facility. As Stuart used to say, I'm here to report on your airport. And it's everybody's airport, and what excites me the most is that it's starting to be used by people that want to expose their children to aviation. Got a playground, people are starting to utilize that. We're giving tours, the schools are coming in, and so it just feels like a community space, and we want to continue working on that on your behalf.
Great. Yeah. Good news about our airport. I love that.
Thank you. Anything else?
Well, the new entrance or
Yes,
the new
ma'am.
road. Now, is that going to eventually be the main entrance?
Yes.
And the other one will go away?
So there will be a gate across the other
Okay.
entrance. The sign, I think you've seen it more recently than I have. We're moving the sign.
Yeah,
and,
yesterday.
And there will be a sign that says, a private entrance or whatever, so people
Okay.
will know it's not the main entrance. And the gate is even with the back end of the fire station there, so as you're driving down the road, you should be able to see the gate to know you can't get, so it'll help people as they're coming down the road to make it on down to the entrance with the sign, and then the new sign's up,
Good.
where you can see it.
That's exciting.
And so And so the nice thing there, back to not wasting tax dollars, is we're only taking out what we have to get a taxiway into that property, and we'll leave the rest as an access road into the hangars and drive. If we build more corporate hangars, you know, it's just one more piece of infrastructure that we don't have to waste.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah.
We'll take it out as necessary, but not if we don't.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all again.
All right, thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Appreciate you coming. All right, next we have Lisa with Sherrill Morgan and discuss our insurance renewal.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here with you this morning to discuss your health plan renewal and make some recommendations. And I'll start with your administrative renewal. So this is your third-party administrator, Aspirant. They used to be called ARC. And they are coming to us with an increase of 3% in their fees for 2025. And that equates to about $3,800 for the year. So we are recommending that you renew with Aspirant. They were purchased this year by a larger TPA called Point C. And so far there have been minimal changes, but we're kind of keeping an eye on that situation to make sure that nothing changes about how they're servicing your plan and taking care of your employees. So we'll report back to you if we see any negative implications from that purchase. So renew with Aspirant and the Anthem Network would be our recommendation. And then also you have a separate pharmacy administrator, MedBen, and they use a pharmacy benefit manager called Ventegra. And then you also utilize a company called RX Help Centers. They assist your employees with finding alternative sourcing for some of the medications that would otherwise be hitting your plan. And we would recommend that you renew with all three of those entities, and there are no increases in the fees for any of the pharmacy administration. So that's the administrative renewal. And then on stop loss, last year we moved the stop loss to Symetra from Companion. And this year the renewal from Symetra was a 32% increase, which was about $94,000. The primary reason for that was that you had a huge influx of new members into your plan. I'll talk more about that in a moment. And largely because you improved benefits and reduced premiums for your health plans. And in that mix of individuals who are now on your plan, there are some ongoing high claimants. So it made shopping stop loss a little more challenging this year. We did go out to the market and we solicited proposals from 14 different stop loss carriers. Yes, sir.
So it's not more employees, it's more cost per employee because of a small group.
You picked up 20 additional employees. You may not have, they may not be new hires, but 20 new individuals on your health plan.
Same complement of employees.
Yes, and more dependents, and more spouses and more children on your plan. I do have those numbers.
We have 42 family employees.
Yeah, last year you had 195 total members on your plan, so that would be employees, spouses, and children. And in 2024 it was 329. So big increase. We expected that because you improved your benefits and you made the coverage potentially free as long as everybody is compliant with their wellness and tobacco incentives. So, so the risk profile of your plan changed somewhat. So the increase from Symetra was 32%. We did get a quote from one other carrier out of the 14 we went to, and unfortunately that quote had some large lasers associated with it, and a laser is really just a higher specific deductible on a particular plan member. So there was a lot of additional liability you would have been taking on with that alternative carrier. So we're recommending that you renew with Symetra, but we're recommending that to get your premium increase down some, that you increase your specific deductible from $75,000 to $85,000. So a specific deductible is what the county pays for an individual on the plan before the stop loss pays. So it's just like the deductible you have on your auto insurance or your home insurance. And it's been a number of years since that was raised. It's been at least 5 years, so as long as Sherrill Morgan has been representing the plan, there's been no increase in the specific deductible, so I think it's a reasonable thing to do. And that gets the premium increase down to 21% over current, so it would be about $62,000 instead of $91,000. And all of the other policy terms would stay the same, and Symetra is an A-rated carrier with AM Best. So that is our stop loss recommendation, renew with Symetra at the $85,000 specific.
Make that motion.
All right, I have a motion by Magistrate Cullen, second.
Second.
Magistrate Gay. Any discussion?
We're in my wheelhouse. 17 years with Blue Cross, and then other years on the provider side in my career. Painful times with media and legislators on projected claims, and yet the balance that we have to reach as the court spending taxpayer money, both on med-surg and on prescription drugs this year. We've had some circumstances that have troubled me because things weren't being paid under our contract. The one specific one that I would mention is scripts out there that are now just exorbitantly costly. In some circumstances, I'll just use the term, those scripts are being abused and highlighted on the media every month. In other circumstances, it is absolutely a needed script, and yet I think we have had at least one rejection when it's been absolutely appropriately recommended or prescribed, not just recommended by a physician. How are we going to handle those individual circumstances when our prescription drug, perhaps even on the med-surg side, I know how I used to handle them internally. I got in trouble with our claims guy because I got some things paid. On the other hand, I had to back up our circumstances when it was just ironclad in the contract, not in the physician's desire for his or her patient. What's our appeal process? Because I know that I used to have to go directly to the Department of Insurance and sometimes even to the Attorney General on behalf even of our own subscribers when I was at Blue Cross, because I was butting heads with our claims guy.
Sure. So I believe you're talking about the drugs for diabetes that have been very much in the media and for weight loss.
On that one. On med-surg,
Yeah.
we had another one, but that one's going away.
Right. So the plan requires that drugs for type 2 diabetes that are called GLP-1s, which have equivalents that are labeled for weight loss, which most plans don't cover, including the counties. But a lot of people who want to take a GLP-1 for weight loss and can't because their plan doesn't cover it will try to get it for pre-diabetes or as their first line drug when they actually have type 2 diabetes. So in order to prevent those drugs from being used inappropriately for weight loss or for conditions other than diabetes, the plan requires prior authorization for GLP-1s. So this would be drugs like Ozempic, Mounjaro. You've heard about these in the media. They're driving up health plan costs, for all plans, and including Medicare, Medicaid. It's a big problem currently. And if someone doesn't meet the criteria for having that medication, then it will be denied. And then they have a couple of different options at that point. The first one is a first line appeal to Ventegra, the pharmacy benefit manager. And so Ventegra makes that first determination of whether or not the drug was appropriately denied. And then if that appeal is denied, then the member can also appeal to the plan. And then it is up to you all as the plan administrator whether you want to make a different determination on that. As a self-funded plan, you have the ability to overturn that appeal. However,
Override.
we always caution that you want to be careful about a couple of different things. One is stop loss. The stop loss carrier may not agree to cover things that you cover outside of what the confines of your plan are. And secondly, there are tax implications potentially. If you as the plan decide to cover something that the plan language says is not covered and that your pharmacy administrator says should not be covered because the criteria weren't met for that medication, then if the plan were audited by the IRS or the individual were audited by the IRS, that could be a taxable event. That's a minimal risk. The biggest risk, really, especially with these drugs, is discrimination. So you have to treat everybody the same.
I totally agree.
Right.
Now, I'm glad you were here earlier because there's a parallel argument that I would make with respect to our ethics code. If I had violated the ethics code and created a statutory Class A misdemeanor, I could be fined, I could be jailed. I don't know that as a consumer. I just don't. That's why you heard my argument that it's going to be right there on the form. If I am the average employee of the county, I don't know that when my physician gives me a prescription, yes, when I had my hip replaced, I made darn sure that it was pre-authorized. But for a script in my lifetime as an employee all those years, I would never have thought that I had to have pre-authorization for a script.
A lot of times doctors
let me finish here.
know what's going to be approved, though.
Let me finish here. That's not the doctor's the responsibility either. He or she is just doing the right thing for the patient. I hope that we have an exception, either by our determination or by the adjudicator's determination, that says, golly, I've been on this script for 3 months and all of a sudden I'm getting slammed with this huge bill because it was not pre-authorized. I hope we can go retro, take care of it, and henceforth, because our employee is, to me, not accountable for not knowing on something as inconsequential in 99 out of 100 cases, because scripts are not that expensive, and he or she inadvertently accepts it, pays for it, looks for reimbursement, and pow, they don't get it. So I'm hoping that in cases like this, we can go back and predetermine that it was appropriate and retroactively and consequentially henceforth take care of it.
I think it's, your points are very well taken. I think it's less likely to happen on the pharmacy side, that someone would incur expense and
Absolutely.
then find out later.
100,000.
Because usually they're stopped at the pharmacy at the point of sale where they'll say, that drug is not, you're not eligible for that medication because your plan, whatever the criteria are. It's more likely that something like that would happen under the medical plan, where a lot of times, not a lot of times, but occasionally, a patient will assume that their physician has gotten something pre-certified and they haven't, and then they have a surgery performed, and then after the fact, it's determined that that service was not medically necessary.
Rarely.
Those are situations we really feel for that patient, because even though technically it's the patient's responsibility to make sure that everything has been pre-certified that needs to be pre-certified, let's face it, most people rely on their doctors to take care of that. So in those situations, you absolutely have the right to tell aspirant, we want that claim paid.
Thank you.
Yes.
Answers my question.
That's the beauty of being self-funded. It's your plan. You get to decide. And there are certain risks associated with doing that, but as long as you're willing to, absorb those potential liabilities, then it's up to you.
Thank you very much.
Question on the these Ozempic drugs or whatever. One of the biggest health risks we have out there is obesity.
Right.
So if there's an ability to try to get somebody, necessarily back to a healthy weight, why are we shying away from that?
It's a really tough question in the
because
industry.
it could cause,
Yeah.
prescriptions to go up. It's going to cause other things to come down, most likely.
excellent point, and the industry is really grappling with that question. So there are some things that health plans don't cover just because of the potential expense, and one of those is fertility benefits. So we would all love to cover fertility benefits for our employees because, you know, it's when people struggle with infertility, that's a very difficult thing. But the expense of fertility treatment is so great that most plans don't cover that. And it's very much the same with the GLP-1. So we would cover those weight loss medications, or we'd cover, you know, the diabetes drugs for people who need to lose weight. But when you think about the number of people who are overweight or obese in this country, the numbers are staggering.
We'd be bankrupt.
It would bankrupt the plan in a big hurry. So until the cost of those medications starts to go down, when there are more and more drugs that come to market, that will probably happen with some of the older drugs. And until the science really backs up the advantages to the medications versus the cost, our recommendation is you keep those weight loss drugs off your plan.
Do we cover other weight loss surgeries?
Do you cover the bariatric surgery?
Bariatric surgeries?
Okay, yeah.
But they have steps they have to do before.
You have to meet certain criteria, yeah. So, and those are effective. Of course, you know, it's
expensive.
It's expensive. It's invasive. You know, at some point in time, more plans probably will cover the weight loss drugs, but for right now, there's not enough science backing up the advantages to taking them versus.
Well, we go back to Tom's point. One of them was, you know, ethics-wise, you know, it's kind of hard for the county to say, we'll cover this for this person, but not for you.
Right.
So I just, you know, it could be worrisome. Okay.
And really, that's why at Blue Cross, we had a retired physician who arm wrestled with physicians and said, no, this person would not qualify for that particular drug or that particular surgery. So there was a stopgap that we had in place as well.
Yeah. It's just the reality. I mean, you have limited resources, and you have to make sure that you're not bankrupting the plan, you know, in the process of trying to help.
You guys are constantly looking at it.
Yes.
For us, which is the benefit of having Sherrill Morgan looking at it. And okay. Thank you.
Yes, we're continuing to monitor the situation and the studies that are, you know, so there are more and more studies that are showing that there's some advantage in terms of cardiovascular disease and maybe some other health conditions to take in the weight loss drugs, but to this point, not enough to justify the expense.
All right.
Yep. All right, so
yeah, just to reiterate what we're doing.
Yes. So you approved the stop loss. Do you need, I don't know if you separately need to approve the administrative fees, or is that part of the stop loss?
All separate? Okay, so we're gonna start with the stop loss.
You did the stop loss, I think, right?
But we haven't voted.
We haven't
You
voted.
haven't voted.
Okay, so that was to increase the deductible from 75 to 85. And who made the Cullen? Okay, all right. Any other discussion on the stop loss?
At the stage, she said we said Cullen.
All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. All right, then we have the administrative,
3%.
3%, $3,800 per year.
So moved.
All right, have a motion by Magistrate Ellis, second by Magistrate Bodner. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. Then we have administrative fees with MedBen, no cost change.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Magistrate Gay, second by Magistrate Cullen. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, you're very welcome. I do have a couple of plan recommendations.
Okay, let's hear them.
Sorry.
No?
Okay, just a brief plan update. I already talked about the increase in enrollment and in the number of members covered. I wanted to give you a little bit of good news. So while your gross costs have increased as expected as a result of picking up those additional members on your plan, on a per employee basis, your plan costs are actually down 1% from last year, from 2023. So that's good news. And your 5-year trend is less than 5%, it's 4.8%. National trend is over 7%. So you're beating national trend. And your relationship with our help centers has saved the county over the last 2 years about $246,000 after you net out the fees that you pay our help centers. And that is largely because they've helped some individuals find alternative sources for their specialty medications. Specialty medications are really expensive drugs that a handful of individuals on your plan are taking and are able to get through some alternative sources, such as the manufacturer of the drug. So the only plan recommendations we're making are to exclude gene therapy. Gene therapy is really expensive therapy that actually alters individuals' genes. It is for very rare conditions such as sickle cell anemia, hemophilia. These treatments cost several millions of dollars in some cases. They are not without risk, so there's risk of organ failure, infection. There have been a few treatments that have actually resulted in, unfortunately, people's deaths. So for right now, while this is new therapy that in the future will become more standard, we're recommending that you exclude the gene therapy from your plan.
What I'm hearing you say is, from a legal standpoint, if today I have sickle cell, we're bound to pay for this gene therapy.
Correct, unless you exclude
I make
it.
a motion that we follow the recommendation to exclude gene therapy.
Okay, can we hear all of them and do it all in one motion?
I don't know, Counselor?
So you're gonna go through each different one to exclude or not exclude?
There are only 2 or 3, aren't there?
Yeah, there's only really one more.
Okay.
Do it all.
Can we do it all in one motion?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'll wait.
excluding
Thank
gene
you.
therapy. And then the state of Kentucky has some new insurance mandates, and they're pretty obscure in nature and unlikely to affect your members, and really they're mostly expansions of benefits. But the one that might actually impact some of your members is that there's a pharmacy mandate that the state just passed that says you can't incentivize individuals to go to one pharmacy over another, including your mail order pharmacy. So right now, your members can get a 3-month supply at mail for, I think it's 2 co-pays, and this state mandate requires that it be 3 times the retail copay. So that's sort of a diminishment in benefits, but our recommendation is always to follow the state mandates. As an ERISA exempt plan, you're required to do so. So unless you want to be out of compliance with state law, we would recommend that you add the new Kentucky state mandates to your plan.
I make a motion that we exclude gene therapy and that we follow the state's mandate on scripts.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Magistrate Ellis, a second by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion on the changes? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Okay, and lastly, as far as the funding for the plan is concerned, we would recommend that you maintain your existing funding levels and fund at least $16,145 per employee. You're already funding at a level higher than that. We will make a budget recommendation in March, like we did last year, for the fiscal year.
Can you repeat that amount again?
Yes, it's $16,145 per employee. You're already at a level higher.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, so that's just your minimum.
Just minimum, yeah. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we'll have a budget recommendation in March.
All right.
All right?
Sounds good.
That's
Thank
all I
you so
have.
much.
Thank you. In 1972, Medicare and Medicaid were being reimbursed $68 a day for a hospital stay.
Wow.
It's changed.
Yeah, a little.
Just a little bit.
She wasn't more than a top.
The next year.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
They were still using leeching.
All right, we need Michaela, and I think she's out in the hall. Are you cold? Okay. I'm comfortable, but.
Okay.
But we can turn this bit.
We keep it in here like a casino. Yeah. Wear less flannel, Tom.
Pardon me?
Wear less flannel. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Are you, okay. Yes. We'll try to warm y'all up.
You don't want to be stripping with wood.
Yeah, no problem.
Welcome.
Show my neglect.
You'll
Thanks
share
for having
with
me.
me too.
All right, goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan.
Yep, we're working on our 2024 comprehensive plan update. This is a required element of the comprehensive plan, is the goals and objectives. This element is the one that's required to be adopted and approved by each of the legislative bodies. So far it's been done by Danville and Perryville, and we're bringing it to you all now, and we'll bring it to Junction on Thursday night. Each legislative body has the right to make changes and adopt something separate from what we're proposing here. Danville and Perryville adopted as is, but I just want to make you aware that the fiscal court does have that ability to do that. I can read through them if you want, or if you
I'll
can
make a
read them, I
motion,
can just answer
we
questions.
accept the goals and objectives as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Magistrate Gay, a second by Magistrate Bodner. Any discussion? Very good. Okay. All those in favor of approving the goals and objectives for the 2024 comprehensive plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
All
And
right.
what's the status of the public meetings as you and I discussed?
Yep, we've had 2 of them. We'll have another one tomorrow evening at 5:30 at Danville City Hall, and then we'll have one next week on Thursday, November 21st, sorry, at 5:30 in Junction City.
And Perryville is coming.
I've never gotten a response from them, so.
I'll follow up and see that you get one.
All right, sounds
What's the
good.
status of
Sorry.
when we talked about the sign change, how we,
Yep, so I'm waiting on that. DHB is going to pursue a grant to work on their sign ordinance, and so we want to do it in conjunction with them as far as what the DHB is going to be bringing into theirs. So I want to do a full review of the sign ordinance as we're going through that process with a consultant that I believe they're going to hire. So that's why I'm waiting on it. I have been working on the agricultural district change. I put it on the agenda for this month, but I think it will probably be another month or so before we take action on it. So,
okay.
yeah, so I'm just waiting on that. I think it will be helpful. DHB will hold some meetings on it, so I'd rather just do a full review. I have some things on the sign ordinance that I think could probably be reviewed with some of the legislative changes.
So you're not enforcing anything right now with the signs?
No,
Because
what's
you're-
written would be is what
Yeah.
we would enforce, so, yeah.
Judge, before
Yes.
we lose Michaela, I was not there, but apparently there was a significant meeting at the library on solar on Thursday last week, and I've heard from several people now, and there's total confusion about the procedures, the process, the ABCD. I'd recommend that Julie and Michaela get together and put out some kind of a news release that says, here are the steps, because there was just pandemonium apparently and total confusion that things are a done deal, things are not going along, and
I can't put on a news release on a specific application. I could give broad
I'm not talking
instructions
about
on
any
the zone
specific,
change,
I'm
but-
just talking about the
yeah.
process, a news release about the process that says
I can do
steps
that.
ABC.
I'll get the information from you. and put
Yeah,
something in.
yeah. We haven't got a ton of calls. I know that they had that meeting. I did
I
not attend. It's not appropriate for me to attend, but yeah, if anyone has any questions on the status of it, they can always call us too.
Yeah.
When is the next planning and zoning meeting regarding the solar farm?
I anticipate it going through on the December 18th planning commission meeting. Our next meeting is November 20th, but it's not.
But they
on the
haven't
agenda.
filled out an application though, correct? You're saying that with
we-
the anticipation of an application coming?
We have an application, we're still waiting on a few items for it to be complete. So we
Okay.
do not have a complete application, but the
But they sent that
application
application in
process
months
has
ago?
started. Probably, yeah, maybe 6-8 weeks ago, something like that.
So you're waiting on things. If they get those things to you, then it'll be on the meeting for this 18th.
Yeah, I think their aim is to be on the 18th, so I expect that, but without a complete application,
Right.
I don't want to guarantee it, but that's what I'm anticipating.
Correct. I just don't want everyone thinking it's an automatic, it's already happened on the 18th. I want people to be geared up for it, but I don't want people thinking that it's gonna be on there definitely, because we haven't gotten everything we've required to actually put them on the meeting, correct?
Yep, that's
Okay.
correct. And it's a special call meeting, so if I don't have that complete application by the filing deadline, I'm not gonna change the agenda, so then it would go in January.
Okay.
Yep. So,
Michaela, what time's the meeting today?
what meeting today?
Do you have future land use? Is that
It's
today?
tomorrow.
The 13th.
It's tomorrow at
5:30.
5:30 at Danville City Hall in the basement.
Okay.
Yep.
One other question, since it is a special called meeting, how does the public or the court request possibly an evening meeting instead of a 9 a.m.?
I've anticipated this. If we get too big of a turnout, we can set up an overflow room in the basement, which we might do, but if it feels like we're not gonna be able to hear everyone's concerns appropriately, then we'll have to do a separate special call meeting that would probably be in the evening. I've already told the applicants that might be something that we have to do. It's just gonna depend on the turnout. I wanna hold it in city commission chambers just because we have the ability to record and live stream it, so it's, I'm not really wanting to move it, but if we need to do it, that's what we'll do. So we'll just see.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but if we have a request from the community that we have a meeting at night as well, because not everybody can get off at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
and be there for several hours that it might
Yeah.
take, how do we request that from planning and zoning?
They'd have to table it because I don't want to speak out of turn without talking with Henry about it, but I think if they submit their application, we'd have to put them on our regular agenda. It's a special called meeting because our actual meeting date would have been on Christmas, so we're obviously not holding that. But I think we would have to put it on there, but if, like I said, if we get a big crowd, my expectation would be me advising the planning commission to table it and hold a special called evening meeting just for that item. But I think we'd still have to go through that process. I don't think it's something we can do preemptively, but
Okay.
I can check.
But you'll let us know, or there will be
Yeah.
information available that we can see to know that
Yeah,
it's been changed or not.
Lisa usually sends out the agenda each month, I believe. I would assume you all are on it, I'm not sure.
I'm easily confused. So at the 9 a.m. meeting, if you have such an overflow, all the materials are in, assuming they're all in. If you had such an overflow that Magistrate Cullen is correct, that many people just would not have had an opportunity to be there because they're working, that you would literally table what the process was going to be on that agenda and adjourn without any action at all.
Yep, we could, I mean, it's gonna be the planning commission's discretion. I don't wanna tell you what they're gonna do, but they could choose to table it up front. They could choose to start doing the hearing and then table and.
But as
have
part of the
another
governing
hearing, but-
body that appoints the planning commission, my question comes back to, does the fiscal court have the ability, and possibly city commission, but this is happening in the county, does the fiscal court have the ability to request or direct the commission and the director to hear the will of the people to possibly have a meeting at night? If you're having a special call meeting, you have a special call meeting, so, not everybody that wants to be heard can be there at 9 a.m.
Yep.
These are their taxpayer dollars
Counselor.
that pays for P&Z, all that stuff, so we need to make sure that we represent them.
Yeah, no, I understand. I can't give you an answer right now. I don't wanna tell you one way or the other, but
I'm
I'll look into it
not
for you.
necessarily looking for a direct answer, but what I'm looking for is I'm gonna speak with Henry, and then
I'll
and
speak with
the
Henry.
commission,
I'll
and get
talk
back
with
to
them
the court to let us know.
Are you saying like who sets the time for a meeting?
Yeah.
Do we have the authority to?
I don't think we can tell them, but I think that we could ask.
I'm not saying we can tell.
Please set it up where more people can attend than at 9 a.m.
if we get enough of a request from the community to be able to have their voices heard, are you recommending that we send emails and letters to the commission instead
They
if they can't be there?
I've read many letters into the record, so that is an option as well, but,
But you're gonna talk to them, to
Yeah, I'll
him,
talk.
Henry.
The
and-
commission's their own body. We only
Yeah.
appoint people to the commission, so I don't think we have the authority to override anything that they're doing. Or, I mean, we can ask, could you please schedule a night meeting?
Right. I just would add, I think Michaela's given a good option to address what the concerns that are being raised are about moving the meeting to the evening session to address that. But I also think it's important that it is a independent body, appointed members by
Appointed and created.
by the
Let's
governing
not
body.
forget
And then to Michaela's point, I think she's making and talking to Henry and her legal counsel, is it's also very much a legal proceeding that needs to be done correctly to avoid any future legal challenges that could be brought against any decisions that the commission makes.
I'm gonna give a little scenario here.
Correct.
I want to go to this meeting at 9 a.m. because it's important to, you know, the area I live in, and I've taken off work, I've found childcare, whatever it may be to make the 9 a.m. meeting, and I go up expecting for my voice to be heard at 9 a.m., only be told, oh, it's too busy in here, we're gonna reschedule. You wanna get those phone calls? Because I sure as heck don't. I understand what you're saying procedurally and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, yeah, they're their own board, whatever, but we appoint the board, we appoint the commissioners. The fiscal court does have say in these things. So, I mean, we created, I mean, planning and zoning didn't just happen to come into town one day and say, hey, we're gonna set up shop here. No, it's created by the various government entities.
No, and again, I understand your point very well, and
Well,
I
that's
tell you
before
well,
my
but
calls to you.
I'm just saying we have to, it has to be done equitably
Right.
across the board. We can't just point to one specific issue and change the rules. So-
I know.
I don't know, they can make a recommendation and we can always overturn it, so I know what you're saying.
Right.
By that, I think that,
I just say if you get enough of an outcry of people that say, I can't make this meeting, can we have it? I mean, you would expect
I think that
we
we
would listen
should
to those.
subtly suggest to them that they make a time where, a more appropriate time for others who may want to attend that could not otherwise due to
All I'm
9
asking.
a.m.
But they have a meeting that's tomorrow night, right?
They're making a special.
That's
one.
not the
That's-
same meeting, not the
Okay,
same
so
thing.
that's
about the
the
comp
20.
plan.
That's about the
Okay.
comp plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
No,
We
it's-
so
scheduled
you have
these-
time.
Yeah,
She
we
didn't think
scheduled
this
these
one would be
special
until
call back
December.
in
Okay.
October.
Alright.
And so, you know, that's what we've
So
set
we
up
still have
as our
time, but
schedule.
you can talk to them and see.
What's that?
You can still have time to talk to, you know, everyone
commission.
and decide if you can.
Yeah, I think we'd probably have to take action at our November 20th meeting, would be my expectation, but I'll talk with Henry about
So we
it.
can encourage our constituents to write letters requesting. I think that would be a positive thing to do.
I think so. I think
Email, write letter, whatever, I mean, text, whatever, you know, the commission people.
how do we request also that the court be notified when applications come in for these kind of projects? I mean, I don't like hearing about it, you know, 2 days before a meeting or, you know,
Yeah.
hearing about it from other people. If you've had the letter or had the
I
application.
didn't get the letter.
I mean,
was-
no, the application is what I'm
Yeah.
referring to. If
I
you got
mean,
an application
right
two
now it's
months
not
ago.
complete, so, yeah, I mean, I think we notify you all when the agenda comes out. If you want to be notified on zone changes, since you take action on that, I can try and put something in place so Lisa sends that out, but,
I guess my request is something of this magnitude, solar. I mean, especially since we spent the last 2 years trying to get a good solar ordinance together
Mhm.
that offers, you know, protections and landowner rights. I don't know, I guess I'm looking for communication. If you get an application for solar, it'd be nice to let us know
okay.
that applications come in, so, because that's one of the biggest criticisms we get from our people is, how did you not know that this stuff's going on?
Mhm.
That is absolutely an issue.
So,
All right.
Anything you can do to help that along, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
communication is key.
Yep, all right,
Thank
thank
you
you all.
so much.
Have a good one.
Tomorrow night's the last land use meeting.
No, there's one tomorrow night.
And then Junction's.
And then
while we're gone.
Junction's on the 21st, and then Parable still has one to be scheduled if they decide to. Okay, y'all didn't talk this long at the last meeting. All right, EMS Director, Mike Rogers.
You loaded for bear today, Mike.
Yeah, sorry about having so many items on the agenda, it just kind of.
We'll blame it on Mo.
Yeah, it's my fault. Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna let you take the first few.
We've got paramedic student contracts first.
Yes. So we have 3 employees that are going to BCTC for paramedic school. In the past, we've had our students sign a contract with us saying that they would work for us for at least 2 years after they get done with school. And this will go into the next item, but just to kind of talk about it a little bit. So the state is giving us money to send these folks to school. Part of that agreement with the state will be to have them sign a contract saying that they're going to work as a paramedic for 2 years.
Any stipulation about working in Boyle County?
So for that contract, no, they just have to work for 2 years in the field. But that would meet that requirement. So for the first item, what you all would notice with those 3 contracts, the pricing is different for each one. And that's because of the way that it ended up being. Whenever they filled out their financial aid, they all got grants and they got varying amounts. So what we're doing is paying for the rest of it. So whatever is left over that they would have to pay out of pocket, that's what we end up paying for.
Okay, so is the court paying any part of this up front and then getting reimbursed? Just how does that work?
And this goes into the second item. Yeah, but the way that that would work, and that's in the MOU on that, we would, similar to, what was it, Hospital 7? Is that the 6? Hospital 6. So what we would do, because of that agreement, we would send the state money. They would match that dollar for dollar, and then that money would go to BCTC, who would then award it to the students.
Okay. Just wanted to get the game plan.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and you have 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Bodner. Any discussion on the agreements?
I reviewed them and
thank you.
Suggested a few little minor changes, nothing that would mess up the main part of the contract, just little things.
All right.
Fix it.
So,
get the name right.
Grace Simonson, Abigail Thomas, and Chase Harbison.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the 3. Okay. Any discussion? Thank you,
I
Councilman.
know 2 of them have just come up through the EMT program. All is Chase too?
Chase, he's from he just moved to Danville from out of town.
Okay, so, but I know Grace and Abigail kind of came up as EMTs, and now they're going into the paramedic field. So. And this kind of loyalty goes far. I mean, this investment in them makes them more loyal to the county, you know, because the hospitals are throwing everything they can at them, and so the fact that we can retain people that continue to go through our programs and sticks with us says a lot. So.
It's, you know, not every agency will sponsor their folks through school, and us being able to do that really does go a long way for them.
Yeah.
So.
All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
We've not always brought these contracts for the fiscal court. It usually depended on the administrative policy, whether it's above 10,000 or less than 10,000. But we thought since the state requires it, it made sense to bring it here and have it officially.
Thank you. All right, next we have healthcare workforce investment funds.
Yes, talked a little bit about that, and Mike has something with him. So they went ahead and gave us a big check.
Visual aids, I love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, yeah.
So the Healthcare Workforce Investment Fund, not to talk too much about it, but I believe it was House Bill 200. The state decided that, hey, there needs to be some more funding towards healthcare related jobs. So nursing, EMS, radiology technicians, that kind of thing. We went ahead and applied for it with BCTC, and all they ask is that the public entity partner with a school of some sort, and then they award you the funds. I talked a little bit about the structure for it, so what we would end up doing. So for us, and it's already in the budget, but we would provide the state $5,737. They would then match that dollar for dollar, so it ends up being $11,474, and then give that to BCTC, and BCTC gives that to our 3 students. And that's how that payment structure would work. But that's what that MOU talks about.
Okay, so the contract then is between the Commonwealth and Boyle County EMS?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mike, hold that up and this time smile. Nice and level. On the level.
Make a motion, we approve the MOU. Do you need that?
Yes, thank you.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Magistrate Cullum, second by Magistrate Bodner. Any other discussion? Sorry, I heard her.
Well, just to verify that we
Got my good ear.
approve the healthcare workforce investment MOU.
Yes.
Because we got another one on next.
Yes. Thank you for the clarification.
That's what I'm here to do,
Keep me straight. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay, then we have Center College Field Internship, MOU.
Yes, lots of MOUs today. So Center College reached out to us a couple months ago. They have folks that are pre-medicine, pre-psychology, or social work. And they asked, hey, is there any way that we can have these folks come out, shadow you all, and see how EMS works and how you all do what you do, and be able to get college credit for it. So that might be something that we'd be able to help out with. So we went back and forth with them, discussed it, and that's where we ended up with this MOU. So, and you all, I'm sure, have taken a look at it, but the big things with it, the participants wouldn't actually be providing patient care, so they would just be shadowing. So they're not going to be directly involved with that patient care. Center College does carry liability insurance for them as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a cool opportunity to be able to help them out, and they get college credit.
No, I'll make driving any vehicles.
No, they won't be driving.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Magistrate Gay, a second by Magistrate Sleeper to approve the MOU with Center College. Is there any other discussion? When is the effective date?
So I don't know the exact date yet, but it should be spring of 2025.
Spring of 2025, okay. And Attorney Herring, do you have review?
I looked at that as well, and it's fine.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any not in favor, say nay. Any opposed, say nay.
You better take a recess to get yourself.
Yeah, I think I better have to. Might have a drink of coffee or something. All right, next is Hopkinsville-Christian County Paramedic Program. Y'all are just bringing all kinds of excitement today.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but we're excited about it too. So.
Sound good.
So Hopkinsville-Christian County Paramedic Program, and maybe you could speak to it a little bit on that end, but so one of the things that the Kentucky Board of EMS looked at was a shortage of paramedics working on ambulances. And one of the initiatives that they've put out is a program where, in this case, Hopkinsville-Christian County, their folks provide didactic instruction, so it's a hybrid program. So their folks over Zoom would instruct students, and then various sites, so in our case us, would provide in-person instruction, so skills, and we would set up clinical ride time at hospitals, on the ambulance, and that kind of thing. And do you want to kind of speak to?
Yeah, I mean, just it's important to realize the workforce shortage with paramedics, and like Magistrate Cole was saying, it's so competitive right now. Our goal is to help be part of the solution. If we can help get more paramedics out there, this program already has 114 students in it. Last year as a state, with all the college entities, they put out less than 100 students, 100 paramedics for the whole entire state.
That's amazing.
So being able to partner with this is going to be big, just to help to help get more number of paramedics out there. There's some students that will thrive at the BCTC program, and there's some students that really will thrive in this program too. Just a little bit different learning styles and class policies and things, and so our goal is to produce as many paramedics as we can because it's such a shortage.
And with this MOU, so what it's talking about for us, we would basically be signing that agreement saying that we would help instruct the students, specifically with skills. We would help set up ride time, and we would be there to proctor the tests. So
The students will come to you all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no financial commitment or anything like that.
Okay. Okay.
I
And
make
there's
a
no.
motion, we approve the agreement between Hopkins-Christian County Program and PMS.
Okay, we have a motion by Magistrate Bodner,
Second.
second by Magistrate Ellis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay, next is the Hamilton T1 ventilator.
So this is a budgeted item. We are looking to purchase a Hamilton T1 ventilator. So this ventilator is considered the top tier of transport vents. So you see your air medical services using it. We're really interested in it because of some of the really new reliable technology that it provides. So it has certain modes that will actually allow you to do a little bit more while thinking about it a little bit less, which is a good thing if you have a patient that requires a ventilator.
This is in transport?
Yes, sir.
What do we do when we've got several vehicles in one unit?
So, and I think you were talking about that in committee a little bit.
Yeah, we have some older vents that's still functioning, but with the price of the vents, we're just going to purchase one and then continue to get one every fiscal year.
Can you interchange it, or does it have to stay with the truck that's assigned to?
Well, it'll be on the chase vehicle.
Okay.
And,
okay.
So it can go to any,
chase
okay.
vehicle is deployed
Assist
to
within
all
the
the
truck.
sickest patients, yeah.
Okay.
Until we
And
get one on every ambulance.
Hamilton Medical is the sole source provider?
Yes.
There should be a letter.
Yeah, there's a letter.
Okay.
16,500.
Just verifying. You good with this?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Purchase, okay. What was the budget amount?
16.
Should
What was
be-
the budget?
For, what was it, the new equipment?
I know it's under budget. I can't remember.
It's under budget, okay, that's what I was, okay.
Can't remember if it's 17 or 18,000, but it's.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion by Magistrate Bodner, a second by
Magistrate Gay.
Magistrate Gay. Okay.
Is this oral or invasive as a trach?
Have a motion by
So
Magistrate
it's
Gay, and a
for any
second by
patient that has an endotracheal tube or a trachea. So either one.
So it can work either way?
Yes. And also if, like for CPAP, it also does that as well. So if they don't have a tube, you can still use it for CPAP with that mask on their face. Just get them out there.
All right. We voted? No. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. And last but not least,
Thank you,
ambulance purchase.
Thank you, Mo.
Thanks, Mo.
All that is under education, so that's
Yep.
Mo's wheelhouse, so we appreciate him doing that.
We do appreciate Mo.
And his leadership.
Great.
All right, so we, as you know, we asked for permission to bid, and we received 2 bids. One from Atlantic Emergency Solutions for $300,359 for a customs truck and bodyworks ambulance. And then the other bid was from PennCare for a Demers ambulance for $289,544.
Same delivery date?
The delivery date is expected fall of 2026. So just to keep you up to date, we have 2 ambulances that are on order with PennCare that will be here next fall sometime. And then, so this one would be probably fall of 2026 is the delivery date. So we're trying to keep it on so we don't get backed up like we did before.
So we have 2 that are coming next year.
2 that are already,
Okay.
we already ordered, and they'll be here next year, and then
And this will be the third for 27?
for it'll be 26,
Okay.
the fall of 2026.
25, yeah.
Make a motion, we approve the Pink Care contract. Or-
Is that your recommendation?
Yes. I don't know anything about the Atlantic Emergency Solutions. I've never had any contact with them at all.
Okay.
And it's ours.
And this is from the
This is
committee
a-
as well, the committee look at
Yes.
this and make this.
Okay, so we have a motion by Magistrate Cohen. Is there a second?
Second.
Magistrate Sleeper.
Sleeper.
Any discussion on the purchase of ambulance from Pincare in the amount of $289,544 with a fall 2026 delivery date?
Yes. There is
Magistrate
a
Cohen.
clause in the new contract which will state that if there is an increase in the chassis, that will be passed along to us.
Okay.
That was a concern and a problem before that we rectified, and Pincare was very good about how it handled it as well. So when we're getting close to budget time for 2026, I'm hoping that maybe we reach out to Pincare to kind of get an idea where we think that chassis is going to be at in case we need to increase our budget numbers to accept delivery for that.
Michael Kidwell's here from Pincare if you want to say anything, Michael, or...
Yeah, of course, and I appreciate the chance to be here again today and
Thanks for
to
coming.
see all you good people.
You didn't have a check though.
I just want to reiterate a little bit on that chassis increase. As you may recall, on one of the ambulances that was purchased, there was a Dodge chassis, and the increase was unexpectedly $17,000 higher than when the process started. And at that time, there was a lot of volatility in the market and a lot of unknowns and a lot of supply chain and chip shortages and you name it. So now that the market is much less volatile than it used to be, we don't anticipate any adjustments on the chassis at all. Number one, we have more of a relationship and history with Ford, which is what this will be, and we can predict more accurately where that number needs to be. And because of some of the profit loss and losses in general for what happened years ago, we revised our purchase agreement to try to prevent that from happening again.
Yeah.
By breaking out just that chassis portion.
And the court, previously, we had kind of, this was all new, we'd gone from the van style to the truck style, and we weren't sure where they were gonna hold up wise. We got a Dodge, we got a Ford, I don't think we got a Chevy or anything, but
We came from Chevys.
yeah, we came from Chevys. So the Fords have tended to be pretty reliable and good product for the ambulances, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so
Appreciate
much.
you coming.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, our recommendation is just based off of the reliability of the Fords that we've had. Knock on wood, they've been really, really good. Pincare's customer service, as far as parts and working with our mechanic Tommy, top notch. I mean, when you need a part, it's there in a few days, which is pretty rare amongst ambulance dealers. And then so we've been really pleased with the operation of the truck too. So it's really quality trucks.
We appreciate the relationship we have with Pincare.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good service
Thanks,
over
Judge.
the years.
Thank you very much. I'll see myself out.
All right, we need to vote. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion to purchase the ambulance from Pincare, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Can I get a picture with the check?
There's a purchase agreement. If you could just scan it to me. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys can just stand there.
Say cheese.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All right, next up is our county administrator.
All right.
First reading ordinance 540.2.
As part of the process of preparing our ordinances to go online, we've come across some that need some updating. The one in front of you was passed in 1979 and has never been revised since Judge Pendergraft was here. This has to deal with parking in the parking lot. We made some minor changes to the language. Since we don't have a jail outside here anymore, we can remove all reference to that. We did add language for a veteran space here and increase the penalties for parking in unauthorized spaces. So we would ask that you pass this for first reading today.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Magistrate Gay, a second by Magistrate Bodner, to approve ordinance number 540.2 as it relates to an amendment to ordinance 540.1 relating to parking of motor vehicles in spaces owned by the county adjacent to the courthouse. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And that is our first reading of the ordinance.
Okay, thanks.
Next, we have speed hump quotes.
We have 3 quotes for the speed humps and radar feedback signs. 3 companies bid. The first one was Sign Solutions USA at $23,887. TAPCO bid at $23,976, and Traffic Logic bid at $19,999. This is for 3 speed humps and 4 radar feedback signs to be placed in Hunt Farm, Old Bridge, and Goggin Lane. Thank you. So I'm recommending that we go with the low bidder of $19,999.
I thought Jason was gonna pay for all these.
Traffic Logic. These are in the budget.
Budget, yes ma'am.
And they are below budget.
Yes.
Second.
Have a motion by,
Tom.
you made it? Okay.
I'll make-
Tom, me.
No, do it with me. Tom started speaking up, but
I'll second it.
I just said that I thought Jason was gonna pay for these since the request came in.
All right, we have a motion by Magistrate Cullen, a second by Magistrate Gay, and,
Uh-oh.
I think Tom needs to make the motion.
okay.
Yeah.
You want me to make
Yes,
the motion?
please.
well,
I make
whoever's
the motion.
comfortable making the motion, be great.
I'll second
I
it.
knew I was right.
No, I made the motion, but he was gonna make a comment.
Okay, Magistrate
I make
Ellis.
a motion that we accept the contract as proposed.
Okay, with Traffic Logic.
Yes.
All right, and then we have a second by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion?
That was harsh.
I think Magistrate Cullen is going to be paying.
At this point, if I have to, that's fine. I've been asking
We
long
can
enough.
get these ordered today.
All right.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, and E91 discussion.
Okay, I do want to have just a brief discussion and get some direction from you. Our E911 fee collection has not been looked at since 1990. The fee on your phone bill is 50 cents a month. And of course, the costs are going up every day. We have 2 options. It's really not working as well being on the phone bills. I jotted down 4 companies that I know are not collecting. One is Spectrum, one is Mint, Consumer Cellular, and then of course all the burner phones that people buy. They're not charging this fee. So there's money out there that we're leaving on the table that could help us in the future upgrade our 911 call center. So I would like some direction. We have 2 options. If we do away with the phone bill system, you can put it on your water bill, or you can put it on your property tax bill. And it's sort of split in the state of who does what. It would be a little more complicated to put it on the water bills because we have the city, we have Parks Water District, we have Lake Village, and then it's just complicated. The easier route would be to put it on the property tax bill. already coming in here, easier to get it from the sheriff. And then the fee. I know Mercer County just went up to $3.25, I believe it is. Seems like $3 is about the average, between 2 and 3. So how do you feel about upping the rate from 50 cents a month, which has been that way since 1990? How do you feel about that?
So back to, how do, on the phone bills,
Yes.
how do they,
They pay all the time. I think I'm getting your question, how do we get the money, how do we?
yeah, I mean,
On
is
the
it every
landline
phone?
On the
that-
landline
phone
and
bills.
cellular. We do get both.
A few, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering,
Not
I
all.
was thinking more cellular
Yeah.
phones now.
Yeah.
How do we collect on cellular phones?
They pay, AT&T, I think is the big one, T-Mobile. We get checks from like,
Hundreds of 50-cent checks.
yeah.
A month.
I mean, it's
Oh,
insane
that's
what they go
awful.
through just to get a few dollars.
That's awful, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got to
so
fix
it
that.
makes more sense to upgrade it. We're collecting right now about $2 million a year in phone fees. And I can't even guess how much is still on the table. And I did talk to Rebecca, and they are worried about upgrades. You know, technology changes constantly. We would be asked to pay part of that. I think this is the smarter way to go to save the local governments from doing that, is to up the rate and figure out a better way to collect it. This would not take place until next year. So if we decide to put it on the property tax, it would be next fall.
Well, and I think, I understand that
Yeah.
makes sense at one level, but I guess my concern would be, is then we're just putting it on our property owners
We are.
versus everybody else in our community that has access to and utilizes the 911.
I don't even
Call
know
center.
how.
It'll be our renters, more or less.
Yes.
Everybody's got a phone, not everybody's got a
Yes.
house.
It
Right.
is, well, if you do water bills, you have a chance of getting more people. But I think with the contention over the rates, on water rates, it would not look good for us to add
But
more
you're-
to the water bill. But you've got landlords and property owners in, I don't know. It would be very difficult, I think, for us to track down all of these phone companies and try to figure out why they're not charging. I get Spectrum. They're not charging me on my Spectrum mobile, nor are they charging Robert at the radio station for his business line, Spectrum. So we know right there, they're not collecting it. And I don't even know where to start to go get that. I guess I could call Linda Ain at the telecommunications attorney, but if we want to change it and make it a little easier for us, then.
Stays very complicated.
Yeah,
Well,
I
think
just
it's-
don't know
I
where
think
to go
there's-
with it.
I think there's work to be done on this issue that we need to keep. It does need to
Alternative
be
routes.
figured out,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we can answer it today, I guess.
Have you done an analysis of what would be if you put it on the property tax?
No, I could do that. If
I
you
think
kind of
I'll
give me an
probably-
idea what rate.
Because, you know,
Oh.
like my house, I've got 4 people, 5
Yeah.
people in my house that have cell phones that are all getting a tax. Now you're just gonna put it on one property?
Yeah.
I mean, because the initial idea of this was where you had landlines, and generally you'd have maybe 1, 2 landlines before, so it kind of puts it back in line with that, but.
Well, then if you have a property owner that owns multiple parcels, it's gonna go on every one of their bills.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that gets passed on as part of the rent. I mean, just like anything else.
But instead of paying a one-time fee on a phone bill, they're gonna be paying it on each individual parcel
I
that they
thought of
own.
that same thing, Judge, that's awkward, at best.
If I have 5 properties, that fee will go on all 5 of my tax bills.
Be $30.
I'll be paying $30.
So if you're a landlord and you've got 5 properties, is that what you're?
But you've got
No,
one
I'm talking
phone.
about just a property owner that owns, you don't have to be a landlord to own 5 properties.
I understand that, so you're saying somebody that normally wouldn't have, like, if you had 5 properties and only one of them technically had a landline on it, you'd have to pay on all 5 of those? I don't understand where you're getting at with this.
Right now, you're paying a fee on your phone bill.
Yeah?
50
One
cents.
fee, 50 cents.
Right.
Per.
If you put it on the property tax bills, you're gonna be paying that 50 cents per property tax bill that you own
Well, I
property
guess the
on.
question comes down to, so if I've got 5 lines in my house,
It's
5 cell
$30 a
phones.
year.
So is that on each, does that get paid on the bill or per line?
I think it's on the bill. I don't
Yes,
know, I
I
don't
can-
get one, but I would
We need to
assume.
look more at this and go
Yeah,
from
we
there.
need to.
But you all agree it needs to be reviewed,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
time, yeah,
Yes,
okay,
definitely.
okay.
I definitely don't think the water bill's a no, because
I agree.
there's too much issue there, and
They're small.
Do you have a question or comment?
I do, give me just a second, I'm actually pulling up my AT&T bill right now, I can answer that question as whether it's
Yeah,
per line or
Yeah,
per
that'd
bill.
be great.
But in reference to the water bill, the last thing you all want to be doing right now is raising the water bill with as much of a stink as we've had over in Briley and Jefferson City. And as far as who pays to have access to this system, I can pull the SIM card out of my phone right now, pick the thing up and still call 911. Any functioning device can access the 911 network, regardless of whether they're paying for it or not. So from the standpoint of looking at it from where it was originally originated as being a landline service, and you were looking at one per household that had it, now you're talking about if it's on just the individual phone bills themselves, then I think the answer there would be to raise the rate that you're collecting rather than try to change the collection method. If it's an issue with the technology advancing and we haven't raised the rate since the 90s, then upping that rate to, say, a $3 charge per bill rather than a 50-cent charge takes care of all of the issue that you all would have as far as income coming in, takes care of everything, and doesn't actually change anything other than the rate. And since it's a rate that is being charged by another company, it also takes some of the ire off of you all as being the ones that raise the rate, because if it's a pass-through charge from the company, AT&T takes the fire for it, T-Mobile takes the fire for it. You all don't end up taking the fire for it. In addition to, it also helps everyone who's part of here because it goes to funding the 911 center and the 911 services.
yeah, sadly,
Right.
we'll get the fire anyway, but at the end of the day, like any of the other services we provide, like EMS, it's never meant to make money, it's meant to be somewhat solvent and be able to continue to provide cutting-edge services, so.
And cover expenses.
Cover expenses as best we can, so. But at the end of the day, 911 is kind of one of those things where if somebody has an emergency and they need to call 911, they need to be able to get through. It doesn't need to be like, oh, you paid for it, you didn't pay for it, so.
Right. It's interesting, this ordinance references one phone company, and that's Bell South.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, that's all you had.
Yeah,
Right.
And so it's so different now
Mhm.
that I didn't want to just jump out and start doing work and making things,
Right.
changes that you may not feel necessary.
Yeah, I mean,
So I think we all agree we
Yes.
got more work
Yes.
to do and
Right.
read some more research, and then we'll come back to it at a later
Yeah,
date.
okay, I'll keep working.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, last on the agenda is the Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week proclamation. And you all know very well that we formed a coalition, homelessness, or a task force, homelessness task force in Magistrate Sleeper. Took that opportunity and ran with it, and doing a great job on that. And did I hear you say at another meeting that they are now a 501c3?
They're working on that.
Working on it.
We are morphing from a task force to a coalition.
Okay.
And they're in the process of establishing their bylaws and becoming a 501c3.
Awesome. Okay, so I will read the Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week proclamation. Whereas hunger and homelessness are urgent issues that affect millions of individuals and families in our communities, and whereas the lack of access to nutritious food and stable housing limits opportunities for growth, education, and employment, and whereas we recognize the importance of working together to bring attention to these critical challenges and to advocate for solutions that promote equity and compassion. And whereas Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week serves as a vital reminder of our shared responsibility to support those in need and to inspire action within our community. And whereas communities across the nation will come together this week to educate the public, engage volunteers, promote resources available for those impacted by hunger and homelessness. Now therefore, I, Boyle County Judge Executive Trilly L. Bottom, and the Boyle County Fiscal Court do hereby proclaim the week of November 17th through 23rd, 2024 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week in Boyle County, Kentucky. I urge all citizens to recognize and contribute to efforts that address these issues, whether through volunteering, donating, or simply spreading awareness. Done this 12th day of November. Motion to approve? Magistrate Sleeper, second. Magistrate Gay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. And I do urge everyone that can, the food pantries are all, needing donations and wanting donations, so anybody that can provide a small donation, that will go a long way toward the homelessness.
At our church, we have gone up from 31, I think, to 40 people coming and getting a box every month. So it's a really big need.
So the donations make an impact on these food banks. All right, you have some FYI information in your packet from EMS, and you also have some FYI information from Animal Control. You have the September and October Shelter Director monthly reports for your reading pleasure.
I have one other thing.
Yes, sir.
For the ambulance, can we add into that pay upon delivery?
Yes, we'll have to go back and let's do a separate motion on that.
Okay.
So, Magistrate.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, it's okay. Magistrate Cullen, motion second by Magistrate Gay to pay on delivery for the ambulance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. I'll turn it over to Magistrate reports, and Magistrate Bodner, we'll start with you today.
All right, Junction City Christmas Parade, December 14th. Morgan Whitaker works on that. It's called Jingle Through Junction. So Junction City Matters has worked with her. We'll be working with her on that.
That's at 6:30?
I didn't write down the time.
Okay.
I think it's 6, but I'm not positive about that.
Fiscal Court will have a float.
Yes.
Yeehaw.
Yes. Good. That sounds good. Junction City Fire Department will have a chili cook-off from 5
Public
to
Works did
8.
one last year.
Do what?
No, I was just answering Juliet. Public Works did it
They're
one last
gonna
year.
do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, the chili cook-off, Junction City Fire Department, it's 5 to 8, $10 adult, free for 10 and under. The auxiliary gets the money, and of course, they're always doing things for the
When
fire
was it
department.
again? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's, I didn't even write it down. It's the 18th,
Oh, okay.
I think. Let me know, 16th. I think it's the 16th.
Saturday the 16th,
Yeah. Yeah, 16th. I wrote everything but the date. The first Monday of the month, we have decided, because we had some concern that the 9 a.m. meetings were not good for everyone in our Junction City and surrounding area. So the Junction City Matters meeting, we all decided that the first Monday of every month, we'd meet at 5 p.m. That's been working out well. We've still, we were afraid we'd lose our 9 o'clock people, but everybody's worked out, so that's working really well. We assisted Abby Terry with the trunk or treat, and that was a great success. I mean, there were so many kids out there. It's just a really neat to see families, the kids and the families. Let's see. I did want to bring, of course, I left that list at home. I wanted to bring a list to talk about. We talk about I hear people fussing about the county spending all kinds of money and blah, blah, blah. I have got, in my area, I've got Yates Road and West Knob Lick that I can think off the top of my head that's been paid.
NOSCO.
NOSCO, that was it, yeah, they just finished the end of NOSCO. In Junction City, there's South Lucas Street, School Street, Mitchell Street, April Drive, Chandler Drive, Greenup Drive, Weatherby Lane, Crittenden Drive, Breathitt Avenue, and Beckham Drive. Junction City has paid those lands. We've got those roads. We've got the ambulances that we have such a great EMS, and we keep them with good equipment that's going to save a life. And so the monies in the airport, look at all them privilege. We've been doing some really, really good stuff here, and we have got a great county. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I just hear people fussing, oh, I've seen it, this, that, and the other, all the taxes. Well, what do they go for? We don't even know. Well, there's a few examples of some of our hard-earned money, all of us, what it's going to improve our county.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I just wanted to mention that. I have to mention that Austin, my grandson, is going into the second game here in Letcher County, so I'm really excited. The playoffs at Boyle County Rebels. He had an awesome senior night. I think I've viewed 400 times. his interception where he ran from the far side of the field and flew through the air and caught that. I just keep watching. I'm like, have you seen this? They're like, yes, we've seen it, Mom.
Not to mention his punt return.
Oh, the punt return, everything. He's just been fantastic. Of course, we still go watch Avery up at his football, Thomas More. Let's see. I think that's all I've got.
All right.
Finally.
Thanks, ma'am. Master Harmon?
After that, folks, I'll just read you the intro.
The Cliff Notes.
Notice that on the Clem property on Lebanon Road, we're dumping mulch. What's the purpose in that?
We actually mulched it on site, didn't we?
Yeah, we chipped it on site.
We had all that.
They had a big pile of limbs and tree, and they brought the chipper out there and chipped it on site.
That was
So
a spillover site.
it just hasn't been moved
They're
yet.
going to be moved
Yeah,
then? Okay, that's it.
That's short and sweet.
That was short and sweet, yeah.
Master Cullen.
I got you. All right. So this morning, the EMS committee met and we talked about several of the things that we're talking about today, the BCTC Paramedic student contracts, the MOU with the Healthcare Workforce Investment Fund, Center College, Hopkinsville, and then the ventilators, and then the ambulance purchase. One thing that we wrote in on here was, it kind of goes in with what Magistrate Bodner was talking about. EMS did 657 runs in October, probably one of the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a big jump from previously, I think, was it 5 something last month? 591, I think, if I remember correctly, or whatever. But yeah, so we are, hats off to our EMS leadership and also everybody that works there, because that's essentially it's 21 runs a day that they're seeing. And, a lot of times when you're traveling outside of Boyle County, you'll see a Boyle County EMS up in Lexington or here and there. So they're hustling up there, doing what they got to do. They get back here, maybe only get 5 minutes, and they got to make a run somewhere else. So really appreciate the hard work. It just goes to show you that we do a lot with a little around here. Yep. We can say things about Public Works, Solid Waste, Sheriff's Department, the jail.
Every department.
It's the pride that we have, that all of our employees have about, being an employee of Boyle County. They put in 110% effort, so I appreciate that. Tonight over at the Kentucky Farm Bureau is another chili dinner. I think it's doors open at 6:30, and it's a free admission, but they are taking donations to help the Boyle County Cattlemen's Association. So if you are free tonight and don't feel like cooking, head on over to the extension office is where it's at, Boyle County Extension Office. So, and then, like I sent you guys before, just prepare to get notifications about solar. Well, it's not even a farm. It's merchant generating facility that they're trying to put out on in northern part of Boyle County. The group that's out there has organized very quickly. I was at the meeting on Tuesday.
Thank you for attending.
Yeah, of course. Gail did not expect as many people. They even said, they're like, wow, we only sent out so many notices. We didn't expect this many people. It actually pushed them into a larger room. And they got through about 2 slides, and then the ice was broken, let's say. So, but, take time. I always tell people that, I might only represent the 4th district, but my vote counts for the whole county. And this is going to be true here too. You all will, at some point, depending on what happens with planning and zoning, your vote will count, for a district that you don't represent, but you, in essence, represent the county. So please make sure if anybody calls, emails, you take time to respond back, and you get back with them and give them a good heartfelt listen. So-
And that's why that procedure will help.
I was gonna ask, what the process is, they would do a zone change and then they would bring it to us, right, for final approval?
Yeah.
It has to go through the process of getting a zone change, and what we did just a couple months ago when we put this through is you know, we said that, you know, it has to be rezoned industrial, because that's really what it is. The one nice thing that I think that we did, I'm still on the fence about it, but I think it's gonna work out well, is that we're not requiring them to have a sewer system put in, which we normally do on industrial zone changes. Because of where these things could lie, it almost makes it impossible to get sewer to there, so it's an automatic decline. The application never gets heard or anything like that, and I think it was Henry, who's their attorney at Planning and Zoning, was worried that we would be setting ourselves up for a lawsuit, basically. And so by removing that piece, it does two things. It kind of gives them the opportunity to apply, and then the public has the opportunity to speak out about it. But it also makes sure that, you know, if this solar farm were to go through and only lasted 5 years, then you're not looking at a big major industrial plant of some sort coming to that property. They would actually have to reapply, because they'd have to go through and get the sewer system entered in there. So it kind of almost makes it a one-use property. You know, then we asked for 500-foot and 750-foot setbacks from the roads and from churches and neighborhoods, and they're asking for 50-foot, you know, setbacks, which is, you know, I don't understand. I mean, we just passed this ordinance. Why would we, you know, cave to 10% of what we asked for? Anyway, so yeah, so it goes planning and zoning, and then planning and zoning will listen and make their recommendation, and then it will come to the fiscal court for our approval or denial. Yeah. So, which is really what we need to do. You know, we discussed, I know, back and forth whether we're going to let this go as a conditional use permit, but that just goes to Board of Adjustments, and it, you know, doesn't give the citizens an opportunity to really, you know, speak to magistrates, and, you know, so I'm glad we went the route we did. So, anyway, that answer your question?
Yes.
You good?
Yeah.
Cool. That's all I have.
That's it? All right, thank you. Measure Gay.
I just want to report that we held the Veterans Appreciation Day luncheon on Friday, and it was once again a big success. I want to thank publicly Sharon Martin, Jack Hendricks, and Heritage Hospice for leading the charge once again on organizing that event. Thank the Fiscal Court for the continued sponsorship of the event, and again, it was another great day to thank and honor our veterans, which was much appreciated by all involved. And if anybody wants to see, I actually did catch Magistrate Cullen working, so I do have a photo of
I
that.
want proof of that.
So it does happen, and I do have that photo for future reference.
Is this the first year that we have not had a World War II veteran?
To my knowledge, yes, that's correct.
That's really sad, folks. There are fewer than 100,000.
And
I'm amazed it's that many who are still living.
I think the oldest person in attendance was 93.
Yeah, I think that's right.
93 was there.
We had it was a close thing with the 93-year-old, so it was 1 month difference in their age, so it was all but a tie. So we had a January birthday and a February birthday of our 93-year-olds.
Well, I was very sad to miss it, because it's one of the few times that I've ever missed the appreciation dinner. But Magistrate Ellis and I had already been
Months ago.
Scheduled for a tour down on the fork of a tree farm. So, but I'm glad that whoever could make it went and represented, so thank you for doing that.
Well, normally it's held on Veterans Day, I think,
that
kind
entered into
mix up with the scheduling too.
Yeah.
So.
Because we did it on a Friday thinking that it would be on the Monday, but it's okay. I mean, it worked out.
Yeah, it was nice. They said the person manning the baked bean station, you know, never runs smoother. So
Well, yes, so I'll leave that where he left it.
Yeah.
Something about the beans.
Yeah. All right. That all?
That's all.
Okay. Well, thank you. Master Sleeper.
We've already talked to some length about the future land use map meetings, but I did attend the one on November 4th, and I'd just like to encourage the public and anyone else to be sure to attend those. There were some concerns raised on some specific issues, and so it's good to go and make your voice heard on those. We have the one remaining tomorrow night, and hopefully some additional ones have been scheduled. We all participated in the site visit to Pulaski County on the air curtain incinerator, if I have that term correct, looking at environmentally safe disposal of brush and wood debris, so we're looking into that. I'd like to make reference to in your court packet, the animal control, or the shelter director reports, and you'll notice on the October one, the shelter was full, but Director Elias has already told me that they're back down again, so that was a temporary thing. And he did note on the September one, and I need to speak to him regarding this. And he and I have communicated speaking about it, we haven't actually done it yet, about updating the ordinance needed for livestock, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. So anyway, but we'll work on that as well. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Master Sleeper. Before we move to Master Ellis, we need to back up to Master Cullen and approve his EMS committee report. Did you make that motion to approve it?
I certainly did.
I thought so. And second by Master Bodner. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Thanks, Katina.
Yep, gotcha. All right, Master Ellis.
Thank you, Judge. The Birthplace of Kentucky Committee is pleased that the judge and I are working with BCTC, which also is wonderful for those students. We're hoping to get them to make as many as 6 iron benches at probably a quarter or even a fifth of the cost that any commercial benches of that like quality would be. So it's a good integration with BCTC by the court, and I'm going to be meeting either late this week or next week with them because they now have a proposal to us on that. The log house that has been discussed now for at least 3 or 4 years, Birthplace Committee would still like to place that somewhere on Constitution Square. I have grave reservations about that, but one of the clinchers might be that more than hesitant, the Heritage Council believes that there are way too many hoops that might be needed to jump through to use those logs there. Net Recovery has contacted me again, and they are willing to try and work with our jail committee and the detention center to do something for women. I don't know exactly what that means because just late yesterday I got that contact, but both the judge and I and Jamie have been working with them optimistically to see if some kind of program could be worked out for the women in our detention center. I'm very concerned that we are deep into November with promises from the state, promises within the past 2 weeks from the state that Perryville Road would be patch paved now and paved next year. I hope the judge and I can make some phone calls and find out why that promise was made less than 2 weeks ago, and we're headed towards snow and ice, so I'm very, very concerned about that. The judge and I are working with state officials with hopes that the 4+ acres that surround the 1/3 of an acre of Crawford House can eventually come back to us as a Perryville Park for all citizens to enjoy and have access all the way down to the Chaplain River. So I'm optimistic with the contacts that we've already made with the state, and we're continuing to work on that as quickly as we can. Tonight, if you have any interest, and you should, in the Crawford House, Harold Edwards is going to be making a presentation about the work that Dr. Ted Steinbach from Louisville has already put into and the progress in saving from collapse, because one wall was ready to collapse when they started working on behalf of Dr. Ted Steinbach. He has had them repoint every brick in the entire house, all the way around. Windows are being replaced, floor joists that he had to have milled over in the Bardstown, Nelson County area, extraordinary floor joist. Everything is underway, and that's going to be there for generations to come once they've finished it.
Where's that presentation gonna be?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it's going to be in the library, thank you. Genealogical Society tonight.
Oh, okay. Part of that.
In the basement of the library. We have had circumstances, local, state, and to some degree even federal recently, where I think everybody around this table has been blindsided on significant communications being lacking. I don't want us to ever be guilty of that. The judge and I have discussed this on some critical issues that have happened in my district just recently. And we and some commissions in my district are becoming quite assertive about communications, especially from the state. So hopefully we are never guilty as a body of not communicating. I'm sending everyone, if my phone works properly, because people got 8 times an email that I sent yesterday, and I don't know what's happening, I don't know whether it's an AT&T or a Tom Ellis problem, but I'm going to send, and Katrina, we've got Katrina in church, forgive me, and the judge should have it if it moves, but there is one gentleman from Spectrum, because we had a serious dust-up, and I made a phone call at about 9:45, and by 11 o'clock he drove from Louisville and was on site for the problem to be resolved. So you are going to have Mike Creed's information as soon as I make sure that it goes out of this to the judge and Katina, so that you can have his contact information. He's a marvelous guy. I've talked to him several times since, complimented his bosses, so you'll want to keep his information handy. The judge and I literally went from 8:30 in the morning till after 2 on Friday at the Taylor Farm logging operation. They've been here since 1783 as a family. They have 1,400 acres in my district, in the Knobs, in Floyd, in Portland area. 640 acres is a square mile, folks. About a half a dozen different ATVs. We were all over that land. We were fed an extraordinary meal. The Taylors are...
Did you expense it out?
Oh, yes, yeah.
You got $50?
In 2017, they were the statewide conservation loggers winners, and their operation literally, as soon as they take trees out, they're planting trees or letting the good Lord refurbish the trees. And they took us from where what we grew up thinking was incorrect, they took us from clear cutting to immature trees 6 and 8 feet tall, to trees that are 20 feet and 30 feet tall, to both oaks and poplars that are this big around, that they've been doing as generations. I didn't ever meet, is it Clifford?
Clifford was their dad.
And even before him, the great-grandfather was starting operational tree farming. They literally showed us, and I can show you the picture, and Trilly's got it too. There was a tree this big where improper logging was done, and they were having us guess how old it was because it was being cramped and crushed by trees that shouldn't have been left. And we all thought it was 12 to 15 years old. It was this big around, and it was a maple tree that was 45 years old, which is a choke to all the other things that you want. So the scientific method that the Taylor brothers are doing there is just extraordinary. And I too will end on my passion for football. Folks, come out, because we are on our way to the 5th in a row for a state championship, and we remain, out of 16,000 high schools in the United States, we remain ranked 13th in the entire nation.
I thought they moved us to 12 last week.
Did an update? I didn't see that one.
At the senior night, Mr. Haddix, Coach Haddix said 12.
I would not doubt Coach Haddix. That's wonderful.
My hearing's not great, so maybe I didn't hear
But
it.
that brings all sorts of attention to this county that we can't possibly pay for. My friends in Louisville from Trinity and St. X, my kinfolk from St. X, they're a little bit jealous about what's going on with this small farm community and the success that our coaches and players are having. So,
Judge,
wish them well.
could I mention that Jingle through Junction is at 5 p.m.?
5, okay.
Judge, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Attorney Heron.
I don't have a whole lot other than, it's deer season, so just everybody needs to be careful when they're out on the roads, because these deer are running wild out there, and can cause major money damage to your vehicle. So be careful out there, and also there's a lot of speeding traps out in Danville, Boyle County, and just warn everybody about that. I mean, I don't take part in that. Just people call me though and say, hey, they got a speeding ticket, and but yeah, there's a lot out there, and it's actually made me more aware of my speed, especially like on Goggin, because I know a lot of people got tickets on Goggin, and I've slowed down as well, so
That'll do it.
I don't want to set a bad example for the county for sure.
Just want to see.
That's it. I'm looking forward to Keiko the rest of this week.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Julie?
I have a couple things. I have been working on our procurement, and just today we approved a sole source. And so what I've come up with, and I will probably pass this out at the staff meeting at the end of the month, is a worksheet to kind of go through and make sure we're following for sole source and for professional services. We hear that a lot, and it's like there's certain criteria for that, so I put together sort of a worksheet to help everybody understand what's required to justify that.
Thank you.
That way, when the auditors come next year, because we're gonna have a perfect audit next year.
Yes.
We'll have paperwork with each one backing it up, so you'll be filling out one of these in a little bit.
Thank you for that.
Working on fleet, really, Judge Bottom and I had a meeting with staff and kind of pitched the fleet idea with them and got everybody's vehicles, so we're working through that to see exactly how many vehicles we would be adding to a fleet system, and then we will bid it out. So that'll happen probably after the first of the year, maybe at the end of the year. We have until December 31st to spend the rest of our ARPA money. It's a little over 100,000, we think. So I have reached out to RJ and asked him to validate that. Anything we owe you, you need to take it out because we've got to commit this money. And then I think Judge Bottom is going to make some recommendations as soon as we get that worked through. So keep that on your list if that's got to be committed by the end of the year or we lose it. We're going to do an RFP for the public safety building and an RFP for the windows and doors at Constitution Square. Those will be maybe in front of you at the next meeting, I hope. On ethics, we have less than 10 people left who have not filed a SOFI. 2 of them are questionable. So we're still working on last year's SOFIs, and we have somewhere between 12 and 15 that still have incomplete ones. The letters went out last Thursday saying if you don't file, you will be fined. So we'll see where that goes. And then Angie and I are going to start working on her ordinances because they do need some updates.
Will you send us a letter, an email with who is not filed?
Yes, I can do that.
The letters are actually going out today.
Oh, they are? Okay. Okay.
And
Great.
what's the due date?
November 22nd, I believe?
Yes, November 22nd.
Yeah, Friday the 22nd. Fines will start on the 26th.
Some people think I'm not on the boards anymore, I don't have to fill these things out, they don't understand that.
Right.
So it's just a little education goes a long way.
So, someone sent me, thank you, Julie, it says 6 PM jingle through Junction, so 6, 5, 1 of it, I'm not sure.
But we
I've
know
seen
it's
it.
on that night.
Yeah.
Just show up and
Show
go to the
up
city
around
on
4
December
o'clock.
14th.
6:15, you'll be fine.
Okay, let me close us out with some announcements. So yesterday was Veterans Day. Courthouse was closed, but there was a lot of recognition going on for our veterans, and our EMA director, Mr. Brian Quayle, back there in the corner, participated at Prairieville Elementary as one of the speakers for a veterans recognition program, and so thank you for doing that. He and Officer Charlie Parks were both there for a program that they were doing, and we do want to just recognize and thank all of our veterans. We have several veterans that work for the county, and so we want to recognize and show our appreciation to you all for what you did for our country. So thank you for your service and your
Couple
dedication.
devil dogs down there.
Also, we have got Coffee with Legislators coming up on 11/22, November 22nd at RECC at 9 a.m. CACO Conference was mentioned. We are the proud owners of Fred Kane. We did our closing last Thursday morning, and deed has been filed and recorded, so we will start renovations, and we'll get back together, and some things will be coming to you all for recommendations on what to start with as far as remodeling and renovating the building for Public Works and recycling. Behind Jamie and Jason are the new maps, and they will be going up on the wall very shortly. So we finally have those in place, and that blue area has grown. Yeah.
Do I know?
Yeah, you know, you know. Okay, so we finally got those framed, and they're ready to go on the wall.
People moving out of the blue area.
Courthouse will be closed for Thanksgiving holiday on November the 28th and the 29th.
My constituent.
Coming up on Thursday, Magistrate Gay will be celebrating a birthday, so early happy birthday wishes to you, Magistrate Gay. And Magistrate Ellis has just celebrated a birthday.
Thank you.
And I don't know if he'll tell his age or not, but
We had the fire department.
he looks
stand by.
well for his age.
I'm gaining on my, I guess it would be my 8th decade.
Gaining, okay, all right. Well, happy birthday, belated, and happy early birthday to Magistrate Gay. Also, another magistrate is going to be celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, followed by Miss Magistrate Bodner, and her husband John will be celebrating their 50th upcoming wedding anniversary. That's awesome, awesome, 50 years. You want to tell us your secret?
Somebody asked John that, and he says, I just do what I'm told. That's what he says.
John told me, he said, yes dear, and no dear.
Yeah, that's it, that's it.
Been loved.
All right, and then
It's been on deer season, right?
finally, in some sad news, our Deputy Judge Executive, Susanna Ryan's mother, passed away about 10 o'clock last night. So I'd like for you all to remember her and her family in prayer. And I was also asked that we adjourn in memory of her mother, Jean Overstreet, who a lot of you knew her husband, Paul Overstreet, who's a pretty good artist in our community, and I'm proud to own one of his prints that he did. So if whoever makes the motion to adjourn, if you can include that, it'd be much appreciated. And other than that, I'll ask for a
I'll
motion
make
to
that
adjourn.
motion with those things included that you
All right,
just mentioned.
motion by Magistrate Gay, second. Magistrate Sleeper, all right, all
Got
those
a
in favor?
question back here.
Would it be appropriate for me to be able to address the court?
Well, normally we don't do that unless you're on the agenda.
Understood.
Yeah.
I had some comments regarding the solar farm. I was wanting to try to get into the record, and then I did look up the information regarding the 911 fees, And the 911 fees for AT&T at least are per line, and they're actually 70 cents per line, not 50 cents per line. So I don't know if you all are getting the full 70 cents on that, or if they're charging more than they're paying through. But
Why don't you get
So,
from Katina our magistrate's list of emails and send us your thoughts?
And you may even be able to speak, but normally you have to be on the agenda in order to address the court. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can surely talk to them after the meeting if you want to.
You may certainly also request a meeting with the judge.
Sure.
And generally your magistrate would attend that as well.
And if you want to be on the agenda at a future date, Ms. Katina is the person to contact and be placed on the agenda. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? We're adjourned.
Damn.